Hi, Neuro Clan. So, as you know, it's October, Mental Health Awareness Month. And because of this, we have been so fortunate to have multiple people within our community uh, give us the opportunity to talk about mental health neurodivergencies. And several pets have made an appearance, which I just love. Before we get into this conversation, I want to remind all ye that you can opt out of this video at any stage. If any stage you're finding any of the content upsetting or whatever, feel free to pause it. Feel free to turn it off. You can only engage as much as you are able to in a safe and healthy way. Never feel any pressure to engage in a way that's going to harm you. So hi, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, how are you? My name is Victoria, also known as Vix, and my pronouns are she, hers, hers. And thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you for coming. And my understanding is that you are happy to talk to us about your experience with PTSD.
Yes, I'm very happy to talk about the subject. I feel as though that it might, my stories might open up the dialogue or conversation for people who may want to check this out.
Um, so just for context, for your sake and our viewers' sake, I myself also live with PTSD. So if at any stage I'm like, oh yeah, I get that. It's not to be patronizing, it's just like empathizing.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that's okay.
but would you like to describe what it is like for you, what it looks like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, my own PSTD experience can differ. It sometimes can come from, say, past events, or if I'm in situations where I've no control over. One being, I'll give you an example. Last night, fireworks are going off outside, and between the noise and the flashes, it kind of brought me back to a place from my childhood where I experienced a lot of stress, like around fire and whatnot. So I really don't like fireworks, even though I love Halloween. It's just the loud kind of noise and the smell of smoke. It triggers something inside me. Now, thankfully, I had a safety net to get into, so I'm okay now. But sometimes when you're in that mindset, sometimes it's just like I can't do this right now. But thankfully now I have techniques that I've used throughout the years to make sure that I don't have like it doesn't take over me, as it were.
Yeah, got you. Um, and um, throughout your experience, throughout your journey with it, was there anything that actually shocked you or about PTSD?
The one thing that did shock me was that I thought that I was always to blame, because when I was younger I was bullied pretty horribly as a child because I was different, because I'm neurodivergent. So, say for example, I went to a friend's party many, many, many years ago in my formative years, and the girl decided to have strobe lights on. And because I was neurodivergent, I didn't know what it was, and I started to freak out. When I had that freak out at the party, people kind of looked at me like I had two heads, which made me very uncomfortable. But thankfully, the girl's parents, I won't mention names to protect privacy, the parents are great, and the parents let me sit in with them while watching Saturday night TV back in the 90s. It was like a safe zone for me, and I can't thank the parents enough for doing this for me. I do feel like because neurodivergent and PSTD wasn't known as it is today, more could have been done, if you get me.
Yeah, I get you. I'm so glad though that you had that safety net in that moment and that they were so understanding and helpful. I'm
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
so glad for your child you that that happened. Um, If you, I don't know how to phrase this, but like if you wanted people to know anything about
I thought
PTSD, yeah, I told you he was going to make an appearance. Is there anything you would want people to know about PTSD or living with PTSD?
I'd say for people who have experienced PSTD, one, you're not alone in this. And two, PSTD can vary from situation to situation. When I first heard about PSTD, I always associated with trigger warning in advance, wars and whatnot, because I'm a millennial, so I've seen from the get-go a lot of war on TV. So I always thought PTSD was kind of like, associated with soldiers. But in my recent studies over the last few years, it can be associated with anyone, even with children, which
Yes.
I didn't know. So now that I know what I know, I feel like I'm not alone anymore with this. And I think that we owe to ourselves as a society to open up the dialogue and talk about PSTD and even tell children in school, look, if someone's really nervous, regardless of age, status, gender, or whatnot, we should be a little bit more kinder to them, that way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we can't assume to know anything about anyone. And yeah, if people were a little bit kinder, it probably would make a hell of a lot of difference. But I get what you mean. There is I myself, the first thing I would have thought of would have been war zones and all this jazz,
Mm.
especially from TV and stuff like this, even not from real life, just fiction, all those military movies and all this jazz. Like it's just so common in that, but I wouldn't have seen it outside of it.
Yeah, of course, I understand.
Would you have any advice, so to say, for how somebody could support a loved one with PTSD or support yourself even?
For a loved one, I would just say, just kind of, understand what it is. Information is key. And linking, like, say, with local charities. I know there's no charities in Ireland that I know of, but sometimes talking about PSTD can help people, and it can open the shell, as it were, of what PSTD is and how it affects us, and how it can kind of like how it can be like, it can be triggering. It can be very scary, especially when you're in a PSTD kind of episode. Sometimes it's best to talk about these things and not brush it under the carpet.
Yeah, no, it is one of those ones. And yeah, I'm not aware of any specific in Ireland. I know likes of Samaritans and all these will help, but I'm not aware of any specific services in Ireland around PTSD. Um,
Yeah, I think the Samaritans are great, and so was Aware Ireland. They were pretty good with helping me with kind of talking about stuff and going to meetings in a post-COVID world. I don't think they do them anymore, but they were great in helping me with this.
and it's brilliant that you were able to find the resources to help you.
Yeah.
Because I think that's sometimes a big barrier for so many people, is that fear of trying to seek out the resources.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you say to someone, look, if your car breaks down, you'd obviously bring it to the mechanic, but when it's a human condition, you're almost like, I know from my own experience as an Irish woman, we're not allowed to talk about these things, but
Yeah,
because I'm older now, I will happily say, yeah, listen, I want to talk about the PSTD and what happened to me and how it's affected me. Hi, puppy.
yeah. Oh, sorry. He was
No, that's
pushing me out of my way.
okay.
Um, is there anything you, aside from talking to people, but is there anything you do particularly to support yourself around it?
I actually kind of like, I kind of like, if I feel like I'm in a situation where my PSTD is triggered, I would immediately take myself out of that situation and put myself in a safe place, if you get me. Because
Yeah,
sometimes the mind is not fun, especially when you're in an episode. And what I found of late is that if I feel like I'm coming into an episode, I get ready and go out for a WALK. Have to spell the word, sorry.
yeah,
And I take photographs, and it takes my mind off the situation that might have been brought up to the surface. I also talk to people about this, and I just kind of give content warnings in advance, especially like when I talk to people daily or when I post on my socials. I will just say, look, today's not a great day. I don't really want to talk about this subject, or say if there's a film out and there are certain things that could trigger me, I'll just say, look, I can't watch this, or look, do you mind if we change the subject? I'm not wimping out, but it's just I have to protect myself.
no, 100%. Um, I think that it is one of it is it can be difficult thing to put those boundaries in place. But it's so helpful for your mental health to be like, nope, I'm not talking about this, or I'm not watching this, or so important.
Oh, it is absolutely.
Is there anything in particular that you're like, I came to this wanting to say X, Y, and Z, and I have not given you the chance to say it? Is there anything?
I will say this. I will say for anyone who is going through PSTC, regardless if it's from social situations, a school environment, bullying, say a typical home life even, or say if you, a parent, a relation, a colleague, or a partner has ever went through this, I would say talk about it. We're not going to crumble. We're not going to fall down. And the resource information now is readily available online. It's just about going to the right sources, if you get me.
Yeah,
And listening to people who may have went through the experience of like what has triggered their PSTD and like just listening to the stories can really help a lot.
and for anybody who is interested, I will in the comments link different resources and different own voices experiences about PTSD. Is there any in particular you would recommend, Victoria?
I would personally recommend, like, just talking with your mental health professional, if providing you have a good relationship with them.
Yeah,
I'm actually kind of receiving help now at the moment with my own mental health team in Bray, and they have been really amazing because I've been able to bounce stuff off them, especially when I get into an episode, and they've been nothing but great, and have given me the toolbox, if you get me, of kind of different tools to help me cope with stuff.
yeah,
That way. I think sometimes it's good to have distractions, like for me with my WALK and crafting, and just like watching like cookery shows helps me take my mind off everything.
yeah.
Yeah. I would also, like, I would link in, like, I know with some people they might be having a few issues with funds, but the Samaritans are always very happy to listen to you and aware as well. The helpline, that is.
And if sorry, if any
No,
of you struggle with talking on the phone or whatever, Samaritans also have a text-based service, and so does 53808 is another text-based service. Just sometimes being on the phone isn't the funnest thing.
no, it isn't. No, no.
Amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today. And I really do appreciate you sharing your experience. And I am sure there will be people out there listening to us and being grateful to hear you speak, as you say, letting people know you're not alone. It's a very powerful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, just always remember, like, you're never alone. Like, if you just, like, Samaritans unaware are like, normal human beings, and they won't judge you, and they won't accuse you of being flaky or whatnot. They are genuinely there to listen to you and help you through this.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And say goodbye.
Goodbye. Listen, take